Fanatic.com, brought to you by Patrick Eads and everyone at Deary Brothers Ford on Mormon Trek. Steve Anderson, Hawkeye Title and Settlement. Mike's E-Keys for cars. Tavern Blue on the Coralville Strip. GT Car and his crew at Supple's Building and Remodeling. Supple's Flowers, home of 1-800-800-ROSE. The Midtown Family Restaurants. Hertine and Stocker Jewelers, 101 South Dubuque Street, downtown Iowa City. Diamond Dream Sports Academy. Premier Automotive in North Liberty. The Ox Yoke Inn in the Amanas. Streets Maintenance, doing building and plumbing as well. Dr. Lance Forbes, Diamond Dental in Cedar Rapids, and Big Dog Tech Solutions. Here's Tom Suter from HawkFanatic.com. It's Pat Hardy and Coach Don Patterson.
All righty. Well, Coach, it's always great to have you on a Monday morning, especially after a huge Hawkeye victory. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that almost nobody in that stadium expected to see what unfolded on Saturday night. Your thoughts?
I sure did.
I didn't either. Hang
on. Heard this correctly. That's the biggest point margin since 1968.
Unbelievable.
At least involving an Iowa win, I guess. Maybe Wisconsin at some point beat us worse, but I don't know that we've beaten them by 32 points.
Oh, yeah, Ron Dane.
Ron Dane Day.
49-3,
yeah.
1999.
Yep.
I'm sorry, they beat us?
Yeah, 49-3, I believe it was.
On Ron Dane Day.
Yeah, Kirk's first season.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was a meaningful win. You know, it's one, as you mentioned, Tom, very few people in the stadium expected a one-sided game. And let's talk just a minute about what we knew about Wisconsin. And we're far enough into the season now. You guys recall me talking about bowl evaluations for previous bowl games. Mm-hmm. And all I mean by that is you're zeroing in on the two teams. You're focusing just on their games. We know right now we've played 52 conference games. So before Saturday night, we played 44 games. And, of course, we knew exactly what had happened. We knew a lot about what happened in those 44 games. But this deep in the season, we were able to go ahead and zero in on our 5 conference games and in combination with their 5 conference games. So now you're dealing with 10 games, right? You're putting 10 games under the microscope. And here's what I routinely do for any bowl game. Of course, for a bowl game, you might have a total of 20 games that you're looking at involving the two teams. But we still had 10 good games to examine and study. And I start off by simply asking the question, who won the parameters in those 10 games and how often did they win the games? And you know what I'm looking for? I'm looking for a parameter that's 10 for 10. And out of 25 parameters, there were only 2 of them. But do you want to guess what they were? Rushing attempts and rushing yardage. So we knew this. If we can win both those, we're going to win the game. No doubt about it. And we not only won them, we won them convincingly, of course.
Sure did.
54-28 in terms of rushing attempts and a 205-yard edge on rushing yardage. 329 to 124. Here's one other thing that was specific for our defense to think about. If you looked at Wisconsin's 5 games, if they ran the ball more than 40 times, they won. If they ran the ball less than 30 times, they lost. So one of our goals, to be specific for the defense, is hold them to less than 30 rushing attempts. Hard to do.
Yeah.
Penn State did it. And Southern Cal did it in the early season. And then there are 3 teams that have done it, and that, of course, includes us with Wisconsin's 28 rushing attempts.
Don, wasn't this game won at the offensive line? I mean, Iowa's offensive line was just so much better than Wisconsin's. That's weird saying that.
It kind of reminded you a little bit. Let me think of a game recently. The Washington game was very similar. You know, you knew early in the game, we're just mushing them for 4 or 5 yards all the time, it seems.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there were a few short games thrown in there. Of course, that's to be expected. But the bottom line, if you're looking for efficient running plays, and you know exactly what I mean by efficient.
Sure.
we specifically identified on first down, it's gain of 4 or more. On second down, it's picking up at least half the necessary yardage for a first down. So if you gain 4 on first down, an efficient second down play would be a 3-yard gain or more. And we got that done a lot.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, there were a lot of times when we didn't get to third down. Incidentally, I love this. To start the game, let's give credit to Tim Lester. First play, we run a naked. You're saying, well, we run a lot of nakeds. We don't run a lot of nakeds to the left. And it's not as hard to do it if you're already in the gun. So all you have to do, the back's lined up to the left. He flashes across the formation to the right, and now the quarterback pulls the ball, throwing the ball to his left, but he's already got his shoulders turned. He doesn't have to reverse out to throw it to the left. You follow me? If he's underneath the center and he's fading to the right, he's got to carry the ball off the line of scrimmage and then turn his back to the defense and roll it out to pass. And going to the left, it's not easy to do. Matter of fact, you'll very seldom, if ever, see us do it out of a direct snap. It's simply harder for a right-hander to throw the ball when he's having to reverse his way to the left.
Sure.
And get the ball out quick, too. Of course, there's always a chance that defenders up the field. But the easier way to do it is to do it out of the gun. You spike to the back coming across the formation. Now your shoulders are already positioned to make that throw. And the first play of the game is naked to the left for a gain of 9. And now we're in that, my favorite part of the down and distance situation, waist down, right, second and short. And sure enough, you remember what happened on second down. Second and 1, we do go waist down. And the sad part of it all, we had a lineman. I can let him remain nameless. He knows who he is. We had one lineman that was beaten on the play. And Brendan's forced into an awkward throw. The ball does fall incomplete, but the message has already been given to Wisconsin. Don't think you're going to know what we're going to do from 1 minute to the next. We're going to keep you guessing. And Tim set that tone with those first 2 play calls.
So, Don, speaking of Tim, I was thinking about this driving in. I mean, they're averaging, 30 points a game? I mean, their running game's 222, 10th in the nation. Passing is still very much an issue. But you're a former Iowa offensive coordinator. What would you, if you had, I don't know about grade, that's cliche, but how would you assess where he is right now? What the impact he's made 9 games into his first season as Kirk's offensive coordinator?
Well, it wouldn't be an understatement to say it was significant, the impact he's had. Here's the best way I can describe it in a few words. I wrote this down as I was going back and looking at the game last night. Coach Fry, Saturday night, had a smile on his face because that was an elite game plan. There were a lot of good plays that were on that call sheet. And you've heard me say before, you asked me a year ago and 2 years ago, what can we do to help the offense? One thing you heard me say, if you recall, Pat and Tom, I simply said, we need more imagination with our call sheet. We need more imagination in coming up with plays that they haven't seen that have a great chance for success. Tim's doing that.
You know, and one play that really caught my eye in the stadium, and then Ann and I watched the replay again, was a play where Gale goes in motion and then pivots and comes back the other way. Everybody's moving left. He's moving left initially, but then he pivots, moves right, and slowly rolls right, throws him a nice little pitch. He runs untouched into the end zone.
Yeah, probably could have walked in, couldn't he?
He could have.
I guess if he had walked, it would have been close. But you're right. Let me find the play here because I wrote comments about it.
Yeah, I thought that was a wonderful play.
It was, yeah. You're exactly right. But I actually can't find it now.
So, Don, what while you're looking, what is it about Tim? What has impressed you the most about what he's done?
Just that he's doing a good job of asking the question you always should be asking when you're developing a game plan, and that's simply continually ask the question, what if? What if we did this? In other words, you might see a play that somebody else ran against them, except you're thinking, you know what, that was a good play for them with the running game, but they never ran a play-action pass off that same run action. What if we did that? That's how you develop a good plan. You learn from what others do, except you go one step further than what they went with their plan. I hope that makes sense to you.
Sure. So,
but it's a great way to develop play action, of course, is run play action that's been causing them problems, because obviously they got to commit to stopping that play action, stopping that run.
And with the offensive line improving so much, basically the same players, can an offensive coordinator do that? I mean, they're doing some subtle different zone gaps and what have you, but how do you explain just is it just one of those things where Kirk says it just takes time, or is Tim's impact been felt there too?
Is Tim's impact? I'm sorry. What was
the offensive line? I mean, how much? I mean, is it just a coincidence that they've gone from being a weakness to a major strength in Tim's first season? Is that a coincidence?
Is it just experience,
or is it just experience, or has he done something?
Well, part of it. Let's give a lot of credit to George.
Yes,
George,
of course, George Barnett. Yes,
sure.
But what I'm saying, he was there last year, though, too. George.
Yeah, you're right. Well, again, it just ties in so much to keeping the pressure on the defense by not being predictable.
Okay. So you think he's made them less predictable, and that's obviously helped the running game?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, as far as the passing game,
but we're doing a better job of not allowing leakage on those run plays too. We had some leakage against Michigan State, and that's how you end up with negative run plays.
Sure.
You got people in your backfield, and in an ideal world, as it was for Washington, as it was for Wisconsin.
Okay.
You didn't see a lot of penetration out of their defensive front. We did a good job of actually moving them off the ball.
Okay. Well, like I said, he's exceeded my expectations. The passing attack is kind of where I thought it would. I did not think the running attack would be this good. I am just stunned at what they've done with what he's done with the running attack, Don. It's impressive.
Well, you for sure have to give credit to those 5 big uglies up
You
top.
do.
Yep.
You do.
You probably don't appreciate being called that, but we say that with a lot of affection for them. Those guys are doing a good job of controlling the line of scrimmage. Let's give some credit to those wing blockers, too.
Yes.
Tight ends and receivers.
The receivers.
They take a lot of pride in what they're doing.
Yeah.
And you got to give a lot of credit to jersey number 2.
Oh, of course.
So there's plenty of credit to go around. Credit to the play caller, credit to the guys that are doing all the hard work that involves moving the ball. Credit to the defense for putting us back on the field in a short amount of time. That wears on the other team. If we can run more plays than they do, that's always a good solution.
When I was watching that game, it sort of felt like watching Wisconsin under Barry Alvarez, and right after he left, beating teams. The way big, huge Bill Cow running back just slicing through massive holes. It's what it reminded me of.
Well, I was talking to our Wisconsin friends that were staying with us, and I said, here's the things that make me feel good about Iowa tomorrow, okay, is for the first time in a long time, we have the bell cow back instead of Wisconsin, and we have a quarterback that can actually run and get himself out of trouble, and we haven't had that.
And, Don, speaking of that quarterback, I mean, he deserves another start. I mean, I had somebody ask me if Cade's healthy, which I assume Cade will be healthy next week. I mean, don't you think Brendan starts out at UCLA?
Well, yes. Yes, I do. I think he's earned the right to start, just as Cade earned the right to start in the past.
Sure.
But the bottom line, if you play that well and you run the offense as efficiently as Brendan did on Saturday night, I think that deserves another start.
I'm with you on that one. And speaking of UCLA,
I'm
more concerned about this game than I was Wisconsin, even though I only picked them to beat them by 3. I never felt that they were going to lose to Wisconsin. This game worries me a little bit. Did you watch them at all against Nebraska, Don?
I did. I was flipping around. That was all in that 11 o'clock time slot, wasn't it?
Yeah, their quarterback is so much better than Wisconsin's quarterback. He's
real good.
He's good, Don. They're coming. I mean, they are, and they had 2 stupid personal, unsportsmanlike conduct calls that just killed them, and yet they still found a way to win in Lincoln.
Yeah, I made the comment after I watched the game. I said, I wish we could have played them in September, because they were an easier mark.
I think you said that.
Yeah, September or August.
That's a great point.
Yeah, you're right. Incidentally, I want to give some props to one of my old coaches, The defensive coordinator at UCLA is a guy by the name of Akaika Malloy.
Okay.
And he was a defensive line coach for me at Western Illinois years ago. And I'm very proud of Akaika for the job he's done. I've got my own little coaching tree now that's working, and I take a lot of pride in those guys.
Sure.
They're coached for us that have gone on to a lot of other good things. You might recall Andy Kolonik, he's one of my GAs.
Yeah.
And he had trouble with Ohio State, but he's still done a great job for Penn State already.
No, that's great. I mean, coaching trees, and we all know about them with Hayden's tree, of course. And, no, that was an impressive effort by UCLA. Playing out there Friday night, 8 o'clock. I still think Iowa's going to win, but I'm not overly confident. Are you?
You know, I'll say this. It did my heart a little bit of good to see some smug Nebraska fans be disappointed in Lincoln. And I realize there are a lot of great Nebraska fans, but I know they had expectations that it wasn't going to be a problem to get by UCLA, and they found out the hard way. You better be ready on each and every Saturday.
Yes. UCLA's got some good skill players, and that quarterback.
And Garbers is good.
I mean, he's as good as any quarterback in the conference, isn't he, really? I mean, I'm trying to think.
Yeah, it'll be a different kind of challenge for us.
Yes.
Dylan Gabriel.
I think he has done a good job, and he was a starter last year, so he gained experience last year, even though they had a difficult season. But he's certainly improved, and that's evident with how he's playing with their offense.
And I'm kind of pulling for their head coach a little bit. I mean, he got off to a bad start at the Big Ten Media Days.
They are coming on.
But to come on and win the way they did in Lincoln and Nebraska, I'm not saying they're another fake Nebraska team, but they're not. Tom, I think we went through and had them 8-1 or 7-2 after 9 games, didn't we?
Possibly,
just on paper,
yes, and they're not.
just no, they're not. They are disappointing. But speaking of disappointing, you're Wisconsin fans. Are they starting to already lose patience with Fickle? They're getting worse.
Well, let's put it this way. We got a text from Sheila's brother, who's had 6 season tickets at Wisconsin for years, comes up from Missouri to go to the games now since he relocated. He sent her a text saying, these people, this coaching staff needs to go now. Iowa hasn't done this against us in 50 years. This is disgusting, embarrassing, and it needs to end now.
Don, obviously we're not going to put you on the spot about Fickle, but obviously that was not a good showing, and they don't seem to be I thought when they won those 3 games, then maybe they were, but they were 3 mediocre opponents. They're not a very good team, Don. They're just not. Their quarterback's not very good. I know he's a backup. They can't run. They're just not very good.
Well, and we've discussed backups in the past, of course. It's hard to have a second quarterback that's just as capable as the first. And I think Wisconsin fans would certainly say the injured starter that they started the season with is far superior to the guy that's playing now.
Yes.
But that's the reality of college football. Your job is to have really good backups at all positions. That's your goal, because it's hard to get through a season with one player being healthy for all 12 games.
Yeah.
And I didn't think their starter, Van Dyke, he's good, but he's not a phenom superstar. He looked okay, but no, he's markedly better than Braden Locke. But I'm just surprised. Wisconsin's offensive line is not young. I mean, there's some veterans in there.
And they're not that big either.
They're all
big.
They're all over 300 pounds, but pretty much everyone is over 300 pounds now. I mean, when you see the Wisconsin offensive line now, Don, what's going on from what you can tell?
Well, I think a little bit of the problem. I will admit, when Fickle was hired, I certainly thought it was a good hire.
So did I.
And I'm still not sure that it's not a good hire.
Okay.
The one mistake maybe that's been made, their new coordinator came from North Carolina, and I think one reason they hired him, I believe, is because they wanted to be great at running the ball and throwing the ball.
Mm-hmm.
He had a reputation for being pass happy, and North Carolina had a lot of good passing offenses. But as you know, the identity of Wisconsin football for decades has been running the ball and complementing that with play action pass.
Yep.
And of course playing great defense. Their profile is very similar to ours.
Oh, without question.
Only they did it better.
They always just did it better. And they always had better receivers. I mean, Lee Evans, Chris Chambers, they always had great receivers. They just were a little better than Iowa.
Yeah, they had great success, not just under Barry, but also under Brett and also under Paul Christ.
Yeah.
So they seem as if they made a conscientious effort to put more pass into the offense. And it really hasn't paid off for them.
No.
And I'm not saying that's why they don't run the ball better than they do. It's complicated to figure out why. I'm sure their offensive line coach and their offensive coordinator has a lot more complete answer than what we do. But just based on what we saw on Saturday night, and part of the problem, of course, they're going up a really good run defense. I have a lot of confidence, and I know Kirk did too. Their offense, because we're not going to give up easy yards in the run game. I realize we did that a little bit against Michigan State, and let's face it, that's one reason that those parameters I gave you are still 100% run.
Yep.
Michigan State outrushed us. Michigan State had more rushing attempts than we did. That's one primary reason they beat us, of course. But the bottom line is that we did a good job controlling them. They only had 28 rush attempts in the game, and some of those came late in the game where they simply thought we don't have any good answers. Just for the record, they did run more than 40 times against one other team, but it was a similar score. Against Alabama, they ran 40-plus times. The only problem with that number is a lot of those rushing attempts were in garbage time. They're simply trying to be sure Alabama doesn't get 50.
Speaking of Michigan State, they were up 10-0 against Indiana, and then didn't Indiana score like 40?
Oh, yeah. Indiana, I think it was
7 points.
It was 47 to 10.
I mean, Don,
47 unanswered
I think we've
points.
seen enough of Indiana to say that they're pretty for real. I mean, they're a legitimate good team.
They are, and Michigan State is always, it seems, capable of breaking your heart if you're a Spartan fan. Because just when you think they turn the corner, they lay another egg.
They're a little better version of Maryland. I kind of compare them now to Maryland. Maryland's the same way. But
yeah, you're right. They do shoot themselves in the foot far too often. Compared to a team like Iowa that virtually never does.
Indiana
Indiana
has a slightly tougher go this week
with
Michigan at Indiana. I think Indiana will probably win that game, but it ramps up.
But then don't they have Ohio State after that?
I believe they do. Yes.
Yeah, but I think don't you think Indiana will beat Michigan in Bloomington? I do.
Yeah, I do too.
I think so. Based on how they played over the entire season, it's hard to imagine they won't. I really thought there's a chance. And the best way I can explain it is look what happened in Ames last Saturday.
Yeah.
When you're going into the game, Texas Tech's a dangerous team.
Yep.
There's a chance Texas Tech will pull off the upset. And I'm sure that state coaches will be the first to admit, we didn't play as well as we need to play. We gave Texas Tech too many chances. I really honestly thought in the Big House, there's a chance that Oregon will stub their toe.
Michigan just...
but that didn't happen.
No.
Oregon's
Let's give
good,
Oregon
guys.
credit. They absolutely deserve to be the number one ranked team.
Oh, without question.
Because they haven't had an off outing yet. I don't believe.
No. Well, they struggled a little bit in their first two games. They were a little down to earth, I should say, but they still won.
One of my thing, and one of them, of course, was Ohio State.
They had a dogfight there.
But Don, Michigan's just not very good.
They're terrible.
They don't have any quarterback play, and their running game is they're just not very good.
Well, they remind me a little bit of Iowa last year.
Oh, I could see that, yeah.
We were one-dimensional, and we couldn't change it.
But Iowa found ways to win. Michigan's 5-4, I believe, right now.
Yeah, it's hard to win the game if you can't can't at least be a threat to throw the ball effectively.
No, you're right.
And there was one player that really shone out. I've done that analytics already on that Oregon and Michigan game. That tight end he's going to be all Big Ten. But the sad thing, I think he might have been responsible for every explosive play.
Yeah.
If not one, I think he might have had 4 explosive plays as a tight end. Kind of reminded me of Marv Cook versus Ohio State years ago.
Yeah, it does. And where Michigan's really weak right now is wide receiver. They're just not getting much at the wide receiver position at all.
And they don't have a quarterback.
And they don't have a quarterback who can get the ball to him. It's just not a good.
Well, now if you watch the Oregon game, you did notice this. They have decided to go with quarterback by committee. So they're putting the runner, and of course you expect them to run the ball then, and they do. And then they'll put in the other guy that's not a runner, but is a more capable passer. I think he ended up with double-digit attempts also.
Yeah, Davis Warren.
But the negative with that, of course, is you're announcing what kind of play calling you're going to do based on who's in the game.
Okay, I know I'm jumping all over, but I wanted to ask you a little bit more. Brendan's obviously he threw for 93 yards. It wasn't much. It wasn't needed. At some point, it's going to be needed. They're not going to be able to just run for 300 yards, I don't believe, against these remaining opponents. But passing-wise, what'd you think? Good? Was there something? What do you think he needs to work on? I did think there were a couple he threw a little too hard.
He did.
Still, but what do you think of him as a passer, even though there wasn't a huge...
I thought he was improved from the previous Saturday for sure.
Okay.
I just say this about our passing game. We still fail to throw for 100 yards, but it's not so important how many as it is how well.
Yes.
7 for 10 for 93 yards, 9.3 attempts, no interceptions. That ties efficiency, I think, somewhere around 180.
Mm-hmm.
And one was for a touchdown, of course. So the numbers themselves, if he'd had 20 attempts rather than 10, is there any doubt in your mind that our pass yardage would have been up toward 200?
I would think so. I
would think so too.
So Tim is basically going with what works, right? I mean, hey, we're running. You can't stop our run. We're just going to keep running. Isn't that Hayden's version of scratch where it itches? Isn't that what he's doing?
Well, part of that, of course, is if we're running the ball, we're burning clock, and we're not giving them as many possessions as they otherwise have. And they're going to be hard-pressed to run the ball 30 times if they're not even on the field as much as we are. And that's what happened. We ended up with 54 rushing attempts.
Yeah.
Incidentally, first time ever in Coach years, we had 4 players that were about 50 yards rushing.
No, it was impressive. And you know what I'm starting to see a little bit too they're going to miss Caleb if he leaves, which I assume he will. But if they have Jay-Z and Patterson and Kamari Moulton as a 1-2 punch next year, that is good. And then I've been really worried about defense. I still am, but Max Llewellyn, Brian Allen, Jeremiah Pittman, you can see those guys are starting to play more and more. You can see them kind of developing new guys as they go along with this. But, Don, I'm impressed with the backup run. Jay-Z Patterson runs really hard.
Yes, he does. But let's do this for a second. This will be a little fun exercise. We know what KJ's numbers are, 24 carries, 135 yards. Let me ask you this. Would you rather have 24 carries, 135 yards, or would you rather have 19 carries, 130 yards?
I'd rather have 19 for 130 because it's just 5 less.
Well, probably, but on the other hand,
of course, of the other 2 bags.
Yeah, I mean,
hats off to both of them. We're going to have, if KJ does play, we're going to have a really good battle to see who gets more carries next fall.
Yeah, and I think they'll both play.
Those 2 are healthy. Those 2 guys are good bags.
They really are.
KJ would be the first to tell you they're good bags.
I love the way Liddell substitutes them. I mean, the way they put him in, it's just very impressive. He's been doing it all year.
Yeah, and that's what's so important to understand. Carl Jackson did it years ago for us. Bill Snyder didn't have to worry about substitutions at running backs. Neither did Don Patterson. Carl Jackson knew how to sub those backs, knew when to put them in. Sometimes it's based on the play call. Other times it's simply because the guy out there needs a break. Liddell does a great job of that. That's one thing that I promise you Tim Lester's not worried about, is which running back's in the game.
Sure.
Because Liddell's taking care of it.
Yeah, and what's a great point, Patterson's first carry, I believe was in the first quarter, rips off a 16-yard run right there. For a second, I thought it was Caleb, and I'm like, no, that's number 9. But it was really impressive the way those 3 rotated. And, yeah, right now, no, I'm Iowa football fans. I know the ones who say, well, there's no playoff, whatever. Yeah, fine. I mean, you got to get over that. Yes, the playoffs are over. You're not going to make the playoff this year. But, Don, as you know, as a head coach, I mean, there's still tons to play for.
Well, my gosh, we talked about what those seniors are thinking. They want to go out on a high note. They want to run out, and then they want to win the bowl game. And last time I checked, that would be 10 wins. And
I think it'd be the only senior class to have 3 10-win seasons during their 4 or 5 years in the program. Aren't I right? And that's not including wouldn't that because they won 10 and
2002, 3, and 4. I think we had.
Oh, that's right, 2, 3, and 4. I forgot about that. That was 11. That was 11, 10, and 10. Those. I think that's. Other than that, is there? I don't think there's another. So they could join that to winning. Have 3 10-win seasons. That's something to play for.
Yeah, and as we discussed before, we're currently sitting on 202 career wins, and there's a chance for those seniors to be part of 205 and 206.
Yeah, no, those would be milestone.
That'd be great.
That would be great too. And so, yeah, there's still a lot to play for. And Don, isn't just the chance to put on your school's uniform and represent your school and represent your scholarship, isn't that by itself enough to have motivation to play well? Just the opportunity to be a Hawkeye and play on Saturday or Friday?
Absolutely. Those guys realize, and the nice thing about it, there are a lot of former players. We had a legacy social on Friday night in the stadium, and I never miss one of those unless we're out of town for some commitment. Never miss one of those because you never know who you're going to see.
Sure.
And for that matter, before every game, I go to the tailgater for the Iowa Football Club. Because, again, there are former players that are in town that I haven't seen in 20 or 30 years, or 40 years even. It's meaningful for me. It's meaningful for them. And they do they recall their last game they ever played in an Iowa uniform. They recall that last season hopefully with a lot of fond memories.
Sure.
It's important. It's meaningful to them. They realize. I used to tell my guys this, and it was easy for me to say it because it was true. We always say it this way as they finished up their senior year. You're going to be an old man, and you're still going to remember the last game you ever played for Iowa. Make it a great memory. And, of course, to build off that, you're going to remember your last season, maybe even more clearly than in the previous seasons. So make it a great season to remember. Make it a last game to remember. And the players, it means everything to them. I couldn't help but notice when our honorary captain came off the field. Did you see the TV version of the game?
I did. I was at the game, and then we rewatched it yesterday.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know all the players very well. That was Marshall?
Yes, Marshall Yanda. Yes.
Yeah.
Who's lost a lot of weight since his NFL days.
On TV, he gave Kirk a hug. This is right before the game starts. And I swear, looking into Kirk's eyes, that was a very emotional moment for Kirk.
Very much so.
Well, Kirk changed the course of that young man's life. I mean, he was in junior college. I mean,
we don't even know what Marshall told him, but I have an idea what he told him. Coach, I love you, and I always will.
Yeah.
And, I get emotional just thinking about those kind of things. Because I'm a lot like Kirk. It's not a sign of weakness to shed a tear. It's a sign of maturity, a sign of strength.
Sure. No, and it seems like whenever you talk to head coaches when they're retiring or whatever, the thing they always say is what I'm going to miss the most is the wins are great, the games on Saturday, but just the daily interaction with the people around me. Every coach says that to where it's almost cliche, but sometimes cliches can be accurate, right, Don? That's what it seems like every head coach misses the most is the daily interactions.
Yeah. Let me just give you an example. The day I retired, I do remember this. It's a huge commitment over your lifetime. In my case, it was 37 years. And you guys have an idea of the work schedule of a football coach in the fall. It's a brutal schedule. And in the meantime, of course, your wife is the one that raises your children.
Sure.
Brooke is a great young adult, much more because of what Lisa did with Brooke in her formative years than what I did, because I simply wasn't around nearly as much. And I've even wondered at times, is all this commitment worth it? Because you're spending time with someone else's children, not your own. But the day I retired, I do remember this, the day I retired, I got over 400 responses from former players. And some of them, of course, I wouldn't trade them for anything, but in general, the response was, Coach, thank you for making a difference in my life. And it's meaningful to hear that.
Yeah.
That's
what it's all about.
And truthfully, a lot of those guys have incredibly good moms and dads. But in some cases, they don't have much of a relationship, if any, with their fathers. So it's a chance for their position coach or their head coach or both to be a little bit of a father figure to his own players.
Sure.
That's especially true if he doesn't have a father figure at home.
Daddy, of course, you'll hear not just coaches, but teachers say, it's all about the kids. And all these kids coming up to them, after they've retired, telling them what a difference they make. And, of course, coaches are teachers. That's what it is.
You're right. I was going to say, Tom, I've always said this. Coaches are just glorified teachers.
Yep.
We just happen to teach college football. That's one subject we teach, but we teach another subject too, and that's preparation for life.
That is true. Now, coaches
and Kirk takes that very seriously. Hayden did as well. Every coach that Hayden ever had did, because Hayden made sure they understood these young men are in the process of becoming men, and you're the one that's got to help them with that process.
Nope, well said, and I will say coaches are paid much better than teachers are these days.
This is so true.
And speaking of Hayden, what would Hayden think about playing UCLA in a Big Ten game at 8 o'clock on a Friday night in Los Angeles, Don?
He'd probably have a few choice words about that. He would say the Big Ten is in the Midwest. It's not coast to coast.
I have a feeling he would. I mean, I'm sort of old-fashioned that way, too. I mean, it's just going to be – I'm just still not convinced it's going to –
Remember what Kurt Signetti said? He said, we're going to fly in, we're going to kick their ass, and then we're going to come back.
Well, he also said we're going to go to their old stadium. He took shots at their stadium. Then he said we're going to kick their ass, and they did. I don't think Kirk's going to say that. Do you, Don?
No. No, there's not going to be any more material coming out of Kirk. I promise you. He learned that from Hayden. Speak softly, carry a big stick.
Kirk has rarely said the wrong thing. Well, he said things that'll piss off Iowa fans about why he punted or whatever, but public relation-wise, other than maybe the one time remember what he said about leaving Deuce Hogan?
Deuce Hogan, yeah.
And he apologized for that. He was trying to be funny, So
right.
Okay, well, let's look at this game Friday. Have you seen enough of UCLA to play to see what threats do they pose, and what do you think their approach will be? I mean, they got Eric Bieniemy as their offensive coordinator. He's got tons of experience. What do you think they're going to try to do? How do you think they're going to try to pull off what would be an upset?
Well, I think the challenge for UCLA, and you've heard this comment about Pac-12 football in general, those teams that have joined the Big Ten, I'll use SC as an example. Ask SC about playing in the Big Ten. Probably a lot of SC fans are wondering if they made a mistake
4-5
by making that move.
Yep.
So my only point with that, SC and UCLA in particular, Oregon and Washington in general, those teams have all prided themselves on having a really good, solid, wide-open offense. Pass and run, maybe some emphasis more so on pass and run. But you heard me make the comment, well, that all sounds good until it gets November and the weather starts changing, and now it's more difficult to throw the ball if you're having to go to the Midwest and play a game in November. Of course, we're having to go to their place. But the bottom line, you better understand how you need to slow down the run game, because otherwise some teams from the Big Ten are capable of running the ball down your throat to some degree.
That's why I still think I was going to win.
Or at least trying to.
Yeah.
A prime example, Oregon survived Ohio State, but it was a struggle. And Ohio State does have a pretty good run game, as you know, especially until they got injured. But let's give Ohio State a lot of credit. I honestly didn't know if they'd go into Happy Valley and win.
I didn't either.
Because they were a little bit vulnerable.
And their line stepped up. Their offensive line stepped up.
Sure
I watched
did.
the game.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they really
I believe
did.
a guard moved to tackle.
Yep.
And
Yes.
some other guy played guard.
Now, he is an NFL
The bottom
first-round
line-
guard
the bottom
project.
line, those guys, and let's give their defense a lot of credit.
Yeah.
They knew they were going to have to step up defensively, too, and they did it.
And now the guy they moved, he projects as a first round as a guard.
Yeah.
So he's very talented. But no, that was impressive. And Penn State, they just can't. I mean, Franklin's stats are not good. And they showed him walking off the field. He got into it with a fan, which is not a good look for any coach, but especially a Big Ten coach. Penn State, Don, they can't beat Ohio State. And well, they could beat Michigan this year, but what are they missing? What is this, a mental thing?
Go one step further. It's a little bit of a mental hurdle, I think.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
What's their record been against top 5 opponents?
It's
something like
1-9 now, I think.
Yeah, and then there's another one where he's 1-12, and then he's 1-9 against Ohio State. I think he's 1-12 or something like that against top 5 opponents.
But Ryan Day's not all that great against top 5 opponents either. Nobody is.
No, and Ryan Day is now 3. Ryan Day is better obviously,
better
than Franklin. But Franklin's won one game against Ohio State.
Well, Tom, just to counter what you're saying, in general, it's true. It's not easy to have a great record against top 5 opponents.
No, Ryan Day's 3-4 now, I believe.
I do think of a guy that had that reputation, and I'll tell you what his nickname was, and you'll know who it was. His nickname was Big Game Bob.
Oh, Bob Stoops?
Bobby Stoops.
Yeah.
You go back and look at his record at OU versus top 5 opponents. It's impressive.
Okay. So back to this game on Friday. I mean, isn't it going to be weird, though, an 8 o'clock Friday night game being played? It's just going to be.
It will be.
It's going to be. How big of an adjustment is that this week, Don? Obviously, they're one day ahead. They do this, with the Nebraska week always. But how big of a change? I assume they're going to fly out there on
Thursday.
They'll fly out there on Thursday and whatever.
Right.
But how big of an adjustment is this from just normal routine of playing on Saturdays?
Well, I think we'd be making a mistake if we made too many comments about it. I'm talking about Kirk talking to the team.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt that Kirk's going to mention, hey, this is a grass surface. Well, okay, yeah, it's a grass surface. So's Purdue. I believe Michigan State's grass also. Or were they? Are they turf now?
I can't recall.
They're another ag school, so I bet they might be grass. Let's not forget that Jack Trice is grass.
Mm-hmm.
They
and
play pretty well there.
Good games in Jack Trice Stadium.
Yeah.
They've beaten us some, of course, over there, but they've beaten us some over here too. So my point is, it's not as if we always lay an egg on grass fields.
No, that's true.
We play a lot of good games on grass. I don't think Kirk's going to make a big deal about it, and I don't think he should.
Okay, that makes sense.
Against USC a couple years ago.
We need to maybe be sure that we have the right shoes on.
Mm-hmm.
And by that I mean, obviously, there are certain shoes that are better suited for grass fields than artificial turf. And I don't pretend to know what they are, but I bet you that Kevin Ford has a good idea what they are, our equipment manager. And for that matter, so does Kirk. Because he's used different shoes in different games, and he can reflect back on some of that. Ask Kevin. And if Kevin Ford doesn't remember, he just got to call Greg Morris and ask Greg, because Greg will remember too.
Yeah, I'm just not convinced that UCLA will be able to out-physical Iowa in this game. I think UCLA is going to have a couple big plays, but I can see Caleb running through some big holes and the other backs. I just think Iowa's going to win the line of scrimmage.
I think this is going to be a bigger challenge. Tell me the best rush offense they've faced in recent weeks. I'm not sure who it would be. And the reason I say that, let's not forget, Nebraska's gone a little bit pass happy too.
Yes, they have.
A little bit like Wisconsin. You got that hot shot freshman, and you got good skill at receiver positions.
Yeah.
But let's not forget, Nebraska's profile over the last 40 years has been a lot like Wisconsin's and ours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
UCLA he's got a couple really good receivers.
He does. Got a good tight end.
They're going to want to hit a couple over the top. And if they do, it's going to make it real interesting.
But do you think they can run on Iowa?
No.
I think they'll struggle to run the ball against us.
Yeah, I do too.
I think they'll have trouble.
I do too.
Yeah. Let me say this too, just talking about getting ready for these guys. Do not underestimate a guy named Phil Parker.
Sure.
Let me tell you why I say that. Let's just talk about 3rd and long versus Wisconsin. And you heard me comment in the past, 3rd and long, one particular coverage has been very successful for us. And you might remember what it was even. It's called two-man.
Mm-hmm.
It's two high safeties playing zone coverage in the back end, and it's 500 man versus those 5 receivers. That still leaves you, of course, with 4 rushers. That's a good defense in general, because you're forcing the quarterback to hold the ball for a while, because you've got 5 defenders manned up on those 5 receivers, so there's no easy quick throws. And you've got security over the top with those 2 high safeties. But here's the rest of the story. Against Wisconsin, I saw with interest, I'm glad to see this. I saw 2 things out of that 3rd and long defense that you hadn't seen much of in the past. I saw a coverage, and it all started with presenting as if they're 2-man again. In other words, those 2 safeties are lined up high, playing half coverage, it appears. But guess what? They're not playing half coverage. One of them rotated down on Saturday night, and he's not manned up on anyone. He's simply what we call a robber. And a robber is a guy that shows that he's in deep coverage, and yet he spins down toward the line of scrimmage a little bit, and his mission is primarily to rob in routes or maybe bang routes, we call them, routes that are thrown over the middle part of the field. In general, he's in position to rob the quarterback of that ball. That's good to see. That's smart football. It's man-free robber still. So you still have one free safety. It's not necessarily the free safety. It might be the strong safety who's playing deep. But one of those two safeties spins down into a robber position, trying to steal one of those intermediate throws. And let's face it, if you need 10 yards, you might throw it 12 or 14, right?
Yeah, didn't you see that with the Penn State-Ohio State game?
So his purpose is to intercept that pass. And of course, it's hard for a good quarterback to see that too, because he's got a lot of things to worry about, principally to worry about a pass rush that's teeing off on him also. And it's not necessarily just four guys rushing up the field. It might involve twist stunts. It might involve what we would call blitz under. It might involve some kind of guy wrapping back inside. And that's not the only other thing we've done out of that two-man shell. We've also run some pressure looks. And I'm talking about bringing more than four.
Sure.
Bringing five and still playing man-free. You can do that, right?
Yeah, Don,
you got five guys manned up on the five receivers. You've got a free safety in behind, and now you've introduced a fifth rusher. And who knows where he might come from. Typically, it's a guy coming from a linebacker position, of course. And let's face it, both Nick Christian and Jay Higgins are above-average pass rushers when they do come.
And it looked like Penn State did that to Ohio State early because they had double coverage. They had a cornerback. They undercut that slant route and turned it into a pick six. Did you see that?
You're exactly right.
Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Had some interceptions.
Yeah.
Is that man defender? He knows. I feel very comfortable trying to undercut this corner route because I know I got help over the top.
Yes.
And we've intercepted those corner routes.
Yes, it kind of reminded me of what Iowa does sometimes. I wanted to ask you before. I can't believe we're almost done, but excuse me. I was watching a little bit of SMU Pittsburgh in the press box the other day. I had no idea SMU is as good as they are. Have you followed them at all, Don? I know you've got Texas roots. Have you seen them play, how quick they are? They're skill players. Do you know anything about them?
Well, I do know this. I made this comment because I did see a few snaps of that Pitt game, and I knew Pitt wasn't unbeaten, right?
They were both unbeaten.
They were unbeaten.
Yeah,
both teams were unbeaten.
SMU's only got one loss. But I do recall, as I started watching the game, well, here's something that doesn't surprise me at all. What are the odds? We go with NIL now, which, as you've heard me say, what could go wrong? Even the NFL has a salary cap. College football has no salary cap.
Nope.
But here's a shocker. Isn't he surprised that SMU might have a bunch of really good players? Yeah, they got a bunch of multimillionaires that are helping pay for them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe the skill players.
Yeah, I mean, it's back in the days where I do recall as a young coach recruiting North Texas. I do recall there's another school that's not afraid to spend money, has a lot of money to spend. It's Texas A&M.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I do recall a great running back at Dallas Carter High School years ago, and I did a good job of developing a relationship with him. But his family didn't have any money. And next thing I knew, A&M is all in on this guy. And not to my shock, A&M gets him. Well, I'm pretty sure there was a transaction made even years ago. Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to be able to prove it, but I'm pretty sure he had extra incentive to go to A&M, if you know what I mean.
Did you guys try to recruit Eric Dickerson? His senior year would have been your guys' first year at Iowa.
I did not. I'm pretty sure we didn't. The only reason I say that, I don't remember for sure that Carl went back to the Houston area in that very first year. I do recall very well how it happened in my case. You've heard me talk about it. Our very first year, we got some of the best Texas players to visit Iowa. A huge challenge to do that. They did it for one simple reason. Hayden Fry was a living legend in Texas. Mm-hmm. Coach Fry had a great reputation in Texas, especially with the coaches. And, of course, the coaches affect the players. And a lot of those best players heard from their coaches, tell you what, if you want to take a trip out of state, you ought to consider Iowa because you and I both know Hayden Fry's a great coach. Mm-hmm. You'll achieve your goals if you go to Iowa. And the bad news, we didn't get a single one of those players. They all visited that first winter, and when you know it, we had some untimely weather that winter, and their response is always the same. We don't doubt for a minute you're going to turn the program around, but we just think it's a little too far from home. And to be honest with you, Coach, I didn't realize it was going to be quite that cold. That comment.
Don, didn't you guys weren't you guys one of the finalists for Harvey Williams, the running back who ended up going to LSU? I thought I remember reading that.
I do. Here's what I do remember in terms of timeline. I do remember in the 81 season, of course, you know what happened in 81.
Sure,
what happened
yes.
to Pasadena.
Yep.
And Coach Fry, after that failed recruiting effort in 79, he said, we're going to forget about Texas. We're not going to be able to recruit them until we win. So don't even think about going back to Texas. Finally, in 81, we broke through and we won.
Mm-hmm.
And in that fall of 81, I said, Coach, let me go back to Texas. I think we can do some good now. He said, okay, but that first one's got to be special. And that first one was special. His name was Robert Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
One of the college football's fastest players, ended up playing for Iowa. And Robert had great value. I do recall Robert had, as I recall, 16 touchdown passes in his career, but he was an invaluable push man. And you know what I mean by a push man. A guy that scares the defense down
vertically,
the field.
Yeah.
And that gave our tight ends a chance and our other receivers a chance to catch a lot of intermediate routes. We're the ones that really pioneered three-level passes to the outside of the field. Why square out to Marv Cook, and the push man then was Clint Early, more so than Robert. Robert was gone. But Robert did play in 1982. That's the first year we recruited Texas. I don't remember what year Harvey Williams came out, but I do remember this, and you do too. We were successful recruiting in Texas because I didn't have the whole state. I had the North Texas area. Carl Jackson had the South Texas area. I grew up in North Texas. Carl grew up in South Texas. And primarily we're talking about Dallas and Houston area, of course. And as you know, we got a lot of great players out of Texas. And that had a lot to do with our turnarounds. And also, let's give proper credit to Bernie Wyatt.
Sure.
Bernie did a great job of
I was going to bring that up.
East Coast. You gotta have a recruiting footprint. Ours was the Midwest, of course, to include all surrounding states, plus Texas, plus East Coast.
Well, yeah, I was going to say
that's what gave them enough of a footprint to make a difference.
I was going to say, 81. After you guys had your breakthrough, that class that was also the senior year for Ronnie Harmon, Larry Station. I mean, Larry Station graduated the same year I did, class of 82, so they were playing their senior seasons in the fall of 81 when you guys had your breakthrough. I think if you guys didn't make the Rose Bowl, you may not have gotten Larry Station away from Nebraska.
Probably true. Let's give a lot of credit to Bill Snyder.
Sure.
Everybody knows Bill Snyder's a great football coach. Bill Snyder was also a great recruiter.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill would say, well, it wasn't because of my dashing personality. It's just that being a good recruiter is a lot of hard work. It involves, you better have good arguments when you show up to a recruiter guy.
Mm-hmm. You
better give him reason to be a little bit intrigued by what might happen if I go to Iowa.
Sure.
And let's face it, Nebraska fans didn't think Larry Station would come to Iowa. And Texas recruiters told me, you're wasting your time with Robert Smith. He's not gonna go that far away to school. Well, they underestimated the value of Hayden Fry and his connection with a guy by the name of Jerry Levias. Coach Fry is the one that opened the opportunity for the black athlete in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
And those black athletes remember that.
And then
to this day, they remember that.
And then
and that had a lot to do with Robert choosing Iowa. I do recall thinking to myself, those guys are underestimating Robert's mom. Robert's mom was a single mom. She had to work 2 jobs to pay the bills, but she loved her son with all her heart, and maybe still does. To my knowledge, she's still alive.
Wow.
But the bottom line is she said, Robert, I want you to pick the school that's good for you. We'll make it work. I want you to be happy. Don't pick a school because of me. Because if you go away to school, I'm still going to come see you play. And she was up here every fall. It wasn't easy for her to get here. Maybe it was only once or twice the entire season. But I do recall, she sat nearby to my family, and I do recall how proud she was when Robert played well. I do recall she made a comment with tears in her eyes. Oh, that's my baby. That's my baby out there playing.
No,
I'm getting emotional again. I apologize.
Oh, no, I know it means a great deal to you. And in 85, Iowa had the Rose Bowl, and that next recruiting class also had Dan McGuire, Tony Stewart, and who else was in that 80? Oh, Melvin Foster. I mean,
how about this, talking about vision? How about a quarterback that nobody cared about, a guy named Chuck Long?
Yeah, he was a running. I still can't believe Chuck Long was a running quarterback.
Saw something in Chuck Long. First off, he knew he's at least average to above average as a runner. He's very, very bright. He's part of a winning program. They've had a lot of success at Wheaton North. I think we can win with a guy like that because, let's face it, Bill Snyder knew I'm going to coach him better than anybody else can.
It sure worked out.
And he did a great job of coaching the backup, a guy named Mark Vlasic. Another great quarterback. I know when Chuck was leaving, the Big Ten coach told me, you had a great team this year, but you lose Ronnie Harmon and you lose Chuck Long. We're going to get you next year. And I said, here's what you don't realize. Our quarterback next year actually throws a little better than Chuck Long. His name's Mark Vlasic. I'm just talking about it being a pure passer.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark Vlasic wasn't that good a quarterback. Of course, he played in the NFL a long time to prove it.
Yes, he did. Well, Don, great stuff as usual. I think we're all pretty optimistic about a win. We'll be talking about a win next Monday. I think so. So great stuff as usual. And like I said, hopefully they'll be talking about a 7th win with then going into a bye week with 2 weeks to prepare for Brian Ferentz and the Maryland Terrapins. So, Don, look forward to doing this a week from now. Great stuff as usual.
Let me make one other comment about
Sure.
UCLA. One thing I do think is important, and Nebraska didn't do this, you got to get a good start. Don't start off.
No, you're
don't
right.
Give them any momentum.
No, you're right about that.
Let's just go back to Michigan State. You heard me say that week. Do not give them any encouragement.
Yep.
Because those fans will be energized. Maybe they wonder if their team can play with you. But as the game played out in East Lansing, Michigan State's players got more and more encouraged by how the game was going. Their fans got more involved. If we give UCLA a good start, we're going to be faced with some of the same problems on Saturday night, I should say.
Great point.
And our guys know that. They'll be reminded of that. Don't do what we did at Michigan State. We got to start fast. Let's get them down. Let's keep them down, and let's take the crowd out of the game if we can possibly get that done.
All right, Donnie, great stuff as usual. Appreciate it. And we'll talk to you next Monday.
Yep, we'll see you guys. Take care.
Thanks,
From
Dad.
the Hertine and Stalker Studios in the heart of the Hawkeye Nation, this is the mighty 1630 KCJJ, Iowa City.
Hertine and Stalker Jewelers, making memories, making moments.
It is going to be cloudy today with scattered showers, maybe even an isolated thunderstorm or two. Our high, though, up to 68 this afternoon. The wind will be out of the south at around 10 to 20. Rain likely tonight, and there could be some locally heavy rain, a ½ inch to 3/4 of an inch or more possible. Our low down to 60. Tomorrow, lingering showers, 66. By Wednesday, mostly sunny with a high near 57. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable on the mighty 1630 KCJJ. Current temp 62.
KCJJ weather, brought to you by Plum Supply.
Plum Supply, kitchens and baths. Your home never looks so beautiful.
1-800-800-ROSE. 1-800-800-ROSE. Your FTD florist is the only number you need to know to send flowers anywhere in the country or Canada from anywhere in the country. 1-800-800-ROSE. It's so easy. Just remember one number. 1-800-800-ROSE. Your FTD florist. 1-800-800-ROSE. Remember,
For a gift that your loved one will treasure for a lifetime, find it at our family-owned jewelry store in Iowa City, Hertine and Stalker Jewelers.
We can show you diamond engagement rings, colored stones, fashion jewelry, and watches.
Our jewelers are on site, so we can design jewelry for that special person in your life.
We are Hertine and Stalker, serving Iowa City and the surrounding area for 3 generations.
Hertine and Stalker Jewelers, downtown Iowa City, and HertineandStalkerJewelers.com. Ask for Willa, Terry, Tim, or Kate. One of us is always there.
Don't wait for an emergency to get a backup for your car keys. Unlike the olden days, car keys have gotten extremely complex. Mike's eKeys for Cars can generate the most technically advanced automotive keys that are on the market today. For spares and lost keys, Mike's eKeys for Cars can produce most conventional transponder, high security, and remote head keys. Mike's eKeys for Cars will keep you on the road. Call 319-330-9185 and schedule an appointment today. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 319-330-9185 today.
When someone is kind enough to share their time with us, we better make it worth their while.
They don't want to do people call it the game, right?
Patrick Gades and Terry Adams of Dairy Brothers Ford talk about what Here For You means to them.
You don't have to spend a half a day in our dealership to get that good competitive price. We just want to try to deliver that to you up front.
And that makes me feel good, makes me proud.
Because that's what people want. They want a fair, honest deal.
As far as a statement Here For You, we want to not just say it, but live it.
Find out what it means to you at Deary Ford in Iowa City.
GT Carr, owner of Supple's Building and Remodeling, has been offering unmatched service and quality for over 25 years. The trained professionals at Supple's Building and Remodeling will install and guarantee the products used in any job, no matter how big or small. They also stand behind their work and offer no-nonsense, exceptional customer service from design to completion and beyond. Whether it's a simple window replacement or a major house addition, you'll have the confidence that Supple's Building and Remodeling is committed to quality. Visit Supple's.net or call them today at 319-337-2246. When you go to a family restaurant, you want three things. 1, a wide selection of breakfast, lunch, and dinner items. 2, you want those selections to be affordable and delicious. And 3, you want to be treated like family. You get all three at the Midtown Family Restaurant. Breakfast items available anytime the doors are open. Legendary tenderloins, onion rings, and hot roast beef sandwiches, and special ribeye and shrimp nights. Daily specials at each location, and no matter if you're coming in solo or with a group of 20, you get the same special family treatment. The Midtown Family Restaurants at Court and Scott Streets and at the Walmart Plaza on Highway 1 West. Follow them on Facebook or at MidtownFamily.com. The family's waiting for you.
Looking for the perfect place to host your next private party? Tavern Blue on the Coralville Strip offers your guests the ideal setting that seats up to 80 people for special events ranging from retirement parties, birthdays, University of Iowa departmental parties, dinner rehearsals, corporate events, graduations, baby showers, reunions, and fundraisers. Forget the bland, lifeless hotel ballrooms. Tavern Blue offers 4 private party packages featuring delicious foods, amazing drinks, fun entertainment, a large venue, and easy booking. For more information on your next party room, drop by Tavern Blue on the Coralville Strip or contact them on their website, tavernblue.com. Eat, drink, and play at Tavern Blue.
Diamond Dream Sports Academy 20,000 square foot indoor facility holds 8 batting cages, space for infield work, space for throwing and pitching and all your arm care needs. Offers private instruction, group lessons, camps and clinics, leagues, memberships. Rentals available at Diamond Dreams is open to the public.
Our top level instructors include former professional, college, and Olympic athletes. Our coaches will help these athletes achieve their full athletic potential, develop a strong work ethic, and a solid base to build. The last thing you want to do is look back and wish you had worked or played harder.
Locally owned and established in 2005, Diamond Dreams is Eastern Iowa's premier training facility. Located at 2905 Stoner Court, North Liberty. Call today and reserve your time. 319-665-2173. 319-665-2173.
This is Leah Pesha, and I've been saying, hit a deer, call Premier, for years. But it's time for something new. It's still where you need to go for deer divots and door dings, as well as damaged dashboards. That's what my dad Nathan's driving at and dreams about. Why not say, when your car is dinged, be a deer and call Premier? I think Dad's going to love that. Premier Automotive, North Liberty's premier auto body repair shop.
Be a deer and call Premier Auto Body in North Liberty.
Don't let just anyone take care of your smile. At Diamond Dental, you can expect compassion, expertise, and a personalized care plan to protect your teeth for life. With more than 30 years of combined experience, Dr. Forbes and his staff are prepared to tackle even your toughest dental problems, leaving your smile healthy and sparkling. Diamond Dental offers a full range of general and cosmetic dentistry, as well as dental treatment options for snoring and sleep apnea. It's never too early to start thinking about what's best for your smile. Schedule an appointment today by calling 390-3703, or visiting the office at 5815 Consul Street Northeast, Suite D1 in Cedar Rapids. You can also visit DiamondDentalPC.com for more information. Dr. Forbes is a proud sponsor of the Hawkeye Wrestling Club and the Inner Circle. Let the Diamond Dental team provide superior care for your entire family.
Dear U of I, just a note to let you know if you're ever thinking about selling Kinnick Stadium or Carver Hawkeye Arena, please consider Hawkeye Title and Settlement. We're here to provide efficient, high-quality real estate title and closing services. Signed, Hawkeye Fan Forever, and send. Hi, this is Steve Anderson with Hawkeye Title and Settlement. Whether it's a large commercial property or if you're buying your first home, remember we're here to help. Hawkeye Title and Settlement Services of Iowa City. You'll love our team just like you love the Hawks.
Are you tired of living in a home that doesn't quite meet your needs? Then it's time to call the experts at Streets Maintenance. Their team of skilled professionals specializes in renovations and remodeling, transforming your home into the space you've always dreamed of. From kitchen and bath remodels to complete home renovations, no job is too big or too small. Streets Maintenance will work with you every step of the way to ensure your vision becomes a reality. So don't wait any longer. Call Streets Maintenance to schedule your consultation at 400-4483. Let's start building your dream home today.
Hanging lights is a pain. Dealing with blown bulbs, dangerous installations, and the endless rat's nest of cords, there's got to be a better way, and now there is. Illuma Lights permanent outdoor lighting from Big Dog Tech. Illuma Lights provides illumination for every occasion. Holiday lighting, accent lights, security, and of course, lighting for the best season, football season. The Illuma Lights app lets you create your own patterns with color, motion, brightness, and static control over every individual light, or use Big Dog's presets to transform your home or business. The professionally installed track system makes Illuma Lights LEDs virtually disappear until you turn them on. Rated at 50,000 hours, you'll enjoy stress-free convenience for years to come. No more ladders, no more hooks, no more wifey's dirty looks. That's the song you'll be singing all year long with Illuma Lights permanent outdoor lighting from Big Dog Tech. Find out more at BigDogTek.net or call 319-395-0800.
Football fans, this is Bill Leixenring of the Oxyoke Inn. We are on your way to or from the game. We're ready to serve you with the same quality food and customer service you've come to trust for over 80 years. The Oxyoke Inn is serving our famous Sunday brunch buffet with lunch, dinner, banquets, and carry-out daily. From our Oxyoke family to yours, we can't wait to see you again soon in the heart of Amana.
The Oxyoke Inn.
We bleed black and gold. We're Hawkeyes, the mighty 1630 KCJJ.
We got Tree Henry on the line.
Been on the line for like 15 minutes.
Are you tired yet, Tree? Did you get a little nap in?
Guys, so good to hear your voice again.
Good to hear you.
Having me.
Good to hear your voice again, Tree. And Mike Tree Henry, former Iowa basketball player back late 70s, early 80s. Former teammate of Kenny Arnold's, and you're in town now because you guys just talk about how yesterday went. I know you addressed the team. You said that got emotional, and you also had a little reception yesterday too, right?
Yeah, it was great. I got to give a lot of credit to Coach Fran McCaffrey and his staff, especially Al Siebert, worked really hard to make this happen, honor Kenny, and invite all of us guys back. I got to address the team and talk to him about Kenny, who he was as a person and a player, and what he represented to all of us and continues to do so. And they were super attentive and glad to hear about him. And a lot of my teammates were in, and the current guys are really impressed with the fact that, after 40-plus years, we're still close and getting together and everything, and hope they can do something like that as well. So that was kind of the message trying to get across to them, the value of teamwork and the friendships and relationships and those kind of things.
So do most of them, from what you could tell, were they aware who Kenny was, or were you kind of teaching them for the first time? Did they know much about him?
I don't think they knew a whole lot about him. I think Fran has mentioned it some, leading up to this. You do obviously the this series of games is going to be named after Kenny, but
sure.
I think that was one of the reasons he wanted us to come in and really, kind of give him a concrete version of who he was and, from personal experience and everything. And like I said, it was really cool to see how locked in those guys were listening, to me talk and everything. Like I told them, I've been in that position, and sometimes you don't want to hear the old people talking, but, they were really focused, and we're glad that we were there, and, I really appreciated that.
Well, the thing from a basketball standpoint, Kenny was a combo guard. He could move from off guard to point guard seamlessly. He made it look easy. And he
had to.
And he had to. And Kenny was also a good 6'2", 6'3". I see a little bit of. Do you see a little bit of Josh Dix in Kenny Arnold? I think Josh Dix can play a Kenny Arnold type role with this Iowa team. That's what I'm saying. He can go from either guard position. But Tree, talk about how valuable Kenny was as a player.
He was amazing. Like I told the guys, and as you guys just said, he could play either position. And I think I even laughed. Right before he passed, we were watching some old YouTube videos of him playing. I even told him I was amazed. I forgot how good he was. Because he did things so seamlessly, like you said. I think people were shocked at how athletic he was. He had that kind of chunky body, as Luke used to say, and especially playing next to Ronnie, who was lightning quick.
Yeah,
Kenny was deceptively quick, and the two of them together were just dynamic. And I know one of the things that impressed the guys yesterday, I talked to them about that Final Four year when Kenny just moved over and played the point after Ronnie got hurt and played most of that season with a broken thumb.
He did.
And they just couldn't believe that. But like you said, didn't miss a beat. Just a great leader and competitor.
Great, I would say the greatest backcourt in the history of Iowa.
I would say it, absolutely.
No, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, with Ronnie, the way Ronnie could just get in the lane and rise up, and Kenny could do just about anything. Yeah, so coming back for Kenny, tonight's game. It's a season opener. Is this going to be emotional for you? Because like we were talking, he's looking down and smiling. That people.
Oh yeah, no, I know it is, and I've kind of mentioned it. We talked over time. We had the whiteout game several years ago, and that was something we were hoping to do each year, and for whatever reason, it kind of went away, and that's passed. But we were so thrilled when Fran, let us know that they wanted to do this, and to honor Kenny, keep his name alive, and what he represents to all of us, and I think the fans of Iowa was really important, and. The fact that the current program is buying into that, really means a lot to us, and it'll be great to, see him recognized tonight. I know we'll be emotional, and, it was great to see a lot of my teammates yesterday. Steve Wade was there, Darcy, Bobby Hansen, Craig Anderson, a lot of the managers, and John Streif, of course, was there. So, just to have all of us together again, we always love doing that, and, a lot of other guys wanted to be here and couldn't, but, I've talked to most of the guys in the last few weeks, and, we still have the connection we've always had and hope to continue that.
So, Mike, can you believe that Iowa has not been back to the Final Four since then?
It's hard to believe. I tell people that all the time. With all the great teams and players they've had over the years, it really is hard to believe. I think it's kind of a tribute to what we were able to to accomplish over that time period. And also, I think even more surprising the fact I don't think they've won a Big Ten regular season championship.
They haven't.
They have not.
And that's really hard to believe, again, with the great teams. But I think it speaks to how competitive the Big Ten is.
Sure.
And, I think, as I told the guys yesterday, I don't know if we were necessarily the best, group of players just on talent. We were good, but I think we were the true definition of team. Everybody accepted their role and, played that, willingly and, with great coaching staff and all of that. We were really happy about that and what we were able to, accomplish, and really proud of that.
Well, Tree, it was so long ago that I had just bought about an 800-pound VCR, okay? You could hardly lift it.
You know what? We talked about those days yesterday. We were watching our games. We watched film on the old 8mm projector. No, we literally talked about that yesterday.
And I taped all those games, your march to the Final Four. I can't tell you how many times I watched those games, and it was just incredible, and we haven't seen it again since. It's just amazing.
Well, it shows you how hard it is to do.
Exactly.
These guys can, one of these teams can really pull it off. I think, I talked to Fran yesterday, and I know this team, they just, the way they move together and interact with each other, they really remind me of our teams. he likes their family atmosphere and tries to recruit good kids. And, hopefully things can come together and, catch lightning in a bottle like we did.
Mike, I'm intrigued by this team. I'm not picking them to win the Big Ten or even be in the top 3 or 4, but I think this team has a chance to be better than some think. There's an interesting mix of players on this team.
Yeah. I mean, just watching them yesterday in practice, I agree with you. They can do a lot of things. They're big and athletic, and I think they will surprise people. I agree with you.
So anything planned today? Do you got anything going on with former teammates or anything?
No, today just kind of taking it easy. I'll see. I think some of the guys had to leave, but, we'll see some of the guys tonight at the game. Just looking forward to the game. Going to try to get over there early and just, soak up the atmosphere and everything and represent Kenny. It should be a great night. And, as always, just really excited to be back in Iowa City and see the fans.
Well, Iowa City always loves you coming back, Tree, and we love you coming on. I appreciate you coming on and sharing this information with our listeners. And your friendship with Ronnie, or not with Kenny, well, with Ronnie too, but with Kenny is what life's all about. And it's interesting, whenever Fran makes some type of quotes about the brotherhood, that he always brings you up, because you were Kenny's, in a lot of ways, Kenny's guardian angel.
And
Kenny was, you and Kenny were each other's guardian angel, is kind of how I look at it. Because you always made a point of saying he inspired you as much as you inspired him.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I tried to, emphasize that as well. Like I said, I get a lot of credit for, what I was able to do for him, but it really was a team effort. I hate to see my teammates, kind of get left out of that. We all did it together, but Kenny inspired all of us. I mean, he just was a really special guy, and the things he stood for and just how he handled that whole situation still amazes me. Never got down, never why me or those kind of things. And I think he taught all of us how to live. And as I said before, it's hard for me to have a bad day knowing what he went through, and I think that's a positive thing.
Well said as usual, Tree. Thanks for coming on, man. Enjoy tonight. You guys, I hope you guys all have a good time. I'm pretty confident they're going to win. And thanks again, Mike. It's always great talking to you.
All right. Thanks for having me so much, and I'll stay in touch with you.
Okay.
Thanks, Tree.
Thanks, Tree.
Hope to see you tonight.
Right, take care.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
I love Tree.
Awesome. Oh, he's great.
He's one of the best, man.
He really is.
He really is.
He's just so positive.
He very is positive. So positive,
love that.
helpful. And I remember when he was on Iowa's team, he didn't play a lot, but he was always smiling back. Didn't he have a game where he took his sweats off and he wasn't – did he not have, like, shorts on or something?
Yeah, I think so.
There was something, and it was –
I believe there was, yes.
There was something, and he handled that with grace because he's just a great he's a great man. And he was great with Kenny.
Oh, my God.
He was so great for Kenny. I mean, everyone needs a friend. Everyone needs a friend like Tree Henry.
What an incredible relationship, And
it really was. What'd you say? The personification of friendship.
Yes.
Personification is a hard word to say. Say it, Captain.
Personification.
It's kind of hard.
No.
Personification. It's kind of hard.
Personification.
It's sort of an annoying word to say. Would you rather say personification or the? That's your choices.
Just talking language.
Which word would you rather?
And personification. I don't have a problem
with. Which word would you rather have to say 50 times in a row? Personification or the?
Personification.
No, you wouldn't. You're lying now. You're lying.
To show my prowess.
Your erudition.
Right. Take this call. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hell, you're on the auction.
Hello.
Hello. That was a good interview.
Oh.
What kind of a team do you think we're playing tonight?
Not very good.
Inferior.
A peculiar team?
No, inferior. And I don't mean that as a I don't see any way Texas A&M Commerce is going to come in there and win this game. Same with Southern. South Dakota next week could be more competitive.
A little tougher.
But the Kenny Arnold Classic is meant to get 3 victories, and that's fine.
Well, it won't be. We won't be beating them as badly as the women did we?
I have no idea.
I doubt it.
Yeah, that was what, 70? Was
55 points.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be a 55-pointer. I don't know.
And that game on Saturday, the football game, the only thing that kept you really interested is the score and how badly we were beating them, because that rain got to be a little bit much. I was glad it finally ended because the rain then started getting worse.
It's funny. The rain just didn't really bother us that much because we had enough warm clothes on and we had a slicker, so it never seemed that heavy. I mean, it was steady, but it was never a deluge.
I was in the
No,
press.
well, toward the end it got worse.
I was in the
toward the very, very end.
I was in the press box eating lemon cake, so I cannot
aren't
feel
you
your pain.
special?
I'm special. That's the only
And
way
I
to
was
explain
hoping
it.
that the people would sit in their seats to keep them dry, but no, they had to stand. I don't know why.
Heaven
people
forbid.
Seem to think
I mean, they're at a
that they
football
have to
game.
stand to win.
Heaven forbid you
Yeah.
stand and pull for your team, Karen.
Yeah, but you got to think about people around you. I mean, when the people in front of you are taller than you, when they're even a place down, you can't see anything. But when they sit down, you can see the whole field.
Well, that's a battle in every stadium at every single football game.
But when
I don't know. My brother said that when he goes to Ohio State and Michigan games, he said at least they sit.
Well, some teams stand the whole game.
Yeah, when I see shots of packed stadiums, fans are usually standing and cheering their team. That's just.
I mean,
well, you can cheer sitting down. You pay for the seats.
Yeah, but
I agree
think,
with that.
I mean,
but
to me though, if you're going to the games, you better be prepared to stand.
You bet.
That's part of the
deal.
Part of the deal.
Well, I know when I go to high school games, I enjoy them because the people don't stand there.
Well, that's different.
Except the students.
Then you need to go to more high school games
and less Iowa games.
Fewer Iowa games.
Well, no, but it's still when in the early part of the time, people didn't stand. I remember way back in the 50s, you could go in there and sit. Nobody stood.
Okay, well, I know they didn't stand in the 70s because why would they?
We had to stand to hold up the kegs.
Yeah, I'm not agree. I don't agree with you on this one, Karin. I mean,
No.
I'm sorry that they have people standing in front of you, but if people want to stand and cheer their team, they paid. That's their right.
I mean, I understand where you're coming from.
That's why I like basketball. The people sit down at basketball
Well,
games.
not always. I have the first row and press row, and there's people standing in front of me all the time. I end up watching.
Well, if they stand around us, we make it miserable for them, and they sit.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go. That's great for the environment.
Because I'm not going to mess with that. They got to remember that. Hey, there's people behind you that are old. There's people behind you that are short.
People
So
standing all
start
the time.
sitting.
Yeah, I don't.
You're
Again,
not-
Tom
you're
and I
not-
aren't agreeing with
No,
Karin.
we
are
don't agree with
We don't
you.
agree. The captain's going to ride the fence because he's.
I will agree, Karin, that it is annoying.
It is
when
annoying,
people
but
stand in front of you. I'll
Captain,
agree.
what's your stand? Do you agree with Karin or what?
I got a bad knee.
You're not
I'm
gonna,
sitting.
Okay, you're sitting. Hunter, do you agree with Karin?
Well,
Hunter doesn't agree with you, Karin.
who doesn't?
Hunter.
You are on an island.
You're on an island.
Well, then you can shoot the rest of you because it teased me off.
All right.
If you see a big rumble and people falling all over, that's where I am.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks for the warning.
All right, goodbye.
All right.
Bye.
Oh. Karin with a bone to pick.
Well, it sounds like she's been. Didn't she say we make it miserable for them if they stand? What do you think she does? Like,
I don't.
how do you think she throws stuff at them?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think she
Like-
probably takes a swing.
Yeah, I see that as definitely a two-sided issue, but you can't fault people for showing enthusiasm at
No.
football and basketball games
No.
when they pay money to watch.
Hey,
that's
we
right.
went to the Licklider games together. I didn't see too many people stand.
Yeah, they stood-
other than the team.
Well, they would stand as they're getting ready to leave. They'd have to stand first. That's when they would stand. No, those games were morgues.
T was they just stood. And
You could
played.
hear little licks. Remember what you could hear during the Licklider era was the screeching of tennis shoes. On the court.
Absolutely.
That's what I remember about. Besides Little Lick shorts, the screeching of tennis shoes on the court.
Little Lick.
That's what I remember the most. Little Lick.
Ah, crap.
Oh, you had fun when he was here.
No.
But I'll never forget the press conference when he said that he brings some dimensions that Cully doesn't. I remember saying to myself, yeah, 5'8", incredible slowness, lack of quickness. I mean, I had nothing personal against the kid, but he
No.
did not deserve to be on a Big Ten
No,
roster.
he shouldn't have
He
played in
didn't
the
deserve
Big
to be
Ten.
on a
No.
Northern Iowa roster.
No.
He was Division III. He would have been a
Definitely.
Division III point guard, and his dad put him on, and that was nepotism. At least in fairness to Kirk, his kids deserved to be on the team.
They did. And Steven didn't play that
Steven
much.
didn't play, and he was a walk-on. I don't think did he ever play? I can't remember if he ever got in or not.
I think
but
he played
James and
a little
Brian,
bit.
James was very good, and Brian was good enough to start.
Well, James is still playing,
Well,
isn't
not
he?
anymore. He's retired now.
Oh, he did this year?
Yeah, but James played 11 years in the NFL. That was, I mean, those kids deserve to be on scholarship, just like Patrick and Connor deserved to be on scholarship, and Jack, if he had chosen to go to Iowa. No, but the stuff with Little Lick, even though he wasn't on scholarship, that was ridiculous.
Okay, crap that showed up on my feed.
Uh-oh. What are we talking about?
He's going to put Chad back in there.
What?
Or
Chad?
Not Chad.
Oh, no. Sullivan will start
Yeah.
Friday. I mean, my guess is
Why
they'll...
did I say Chad?
Because you're... never mind.
What? What were you going to say?
Never mind.
Come on.
I was thinking of something sort of mean to say, but I didn't want to be too mean, so I just decided not to. But no, I will be stunned. Cade more than likely is going to be recovered from this concussion 2 weeks later, but I will be stunned if they start Cade. It'll be interesting to see what Kirk says tomorrow. My guess is he'll say, "Our Cade's coming along. We're not sure where he is right now. We're just getting started with practice, but hopefully
Cade will be good to go.
Hopefully Cade will be good to go. But as of now, Brendan, we're going to stick. I think he'll do it that way, and I think they'll go into that game. And if Brendan throws 2 interceptions in the first quarter, they might put Cade in.
Well, fair enough.
And I'd have no problem with that.
Hello.
Hey, Cap. Hey, that Karn gal, you need to start paying her.
Oh, you're real big with my money, aren't you? Yeah. I just got money just to throw around, just to pay anybody that calls in.
You're not the first person who tried to get money for somebody calling in. I'll say that.
So if he starts paying her, are you going to ask for a cut?
Yeah, possibility.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. They only see money through you,
Iowa
Captain.
game.
Yeah.
But what's
Let's
that?
go out and first 2 drives, just throw the ball, play with their brains.
All right. Well, maybe
Yeah.
that'll
And
be
then
our game
start
plan.
pounding them.
Yeah, let's ignore Caleb Johnson for 2 series. Or you want to throw the ball to Caleb Johnson?
Yeah, and when was the last time we had a fake punt?
Well, they had one that they called that Kurt called timeout.
Yeah,
and
they did.
That was just a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got too nervous, maybe.
Yeah,
I guess.
Or too conservative, maybe, maybe got too nervous.
Oh,
Hard
yeah.
to say.
Who's to say?
It's hard to say.
You got to open it up.
Okay.
You want to win on the West Coast.
Well, I know Kirk's listening, and I'm sure he's probably writing this down. So we'll see.
So writing it down. Open it up when you play on the West Coast.
Yep.
Okay. All right, man.
All right.
Thanks.
We got some good silent moments with him where we're not sure if he's going to continue talking, and we've got nothing to say, and then there's awkward silence. And for some reason, I enjoy awkward silence on the radio.
You do seem to.
I do. I just think it's really. Don't you like it, Captain?
People need the quiet.
Awkward silence. I bet that you think there's a. Would that be a good name for a band? Awkward silence, Shooter?
It would not be a good name, no.
No, because it would suggest.
But it's possible.
I'm sure there might be one out there, but no, this was a fun show. I always enjoy talking football with Don, and then Tree. It's great that Tree can come in, and it is cool what Fran's doing to try to keep Kenny's name in
Fran's
memory
a good
alive.
man.
Fran has a lot of. He's got a big heart in that way, and like I said, I'm intrigued by this. Dallas Jones will be covering the game tonight for Hawk Fanatic.
The only thing I'll say about it is I didn't know anything about it.
Well, they're not promoting it really big. I mean, it's on the schedule, and I wrote about it yesterday.
And I didn't see
Yeah,
it.
and
so.
I don't think there's any TV ads. They haven't asked you guys to promote.
No.
It's basically they're just naming these first 3 non-conference games. They're affiliating them with Kenny's legacy, which I think is great.
Yeah.
Now they got to go watch them.
Well, I'll have to go back and
watch
read
them,
your...
watch them come out and lose to Commerce by like 15. Well, remember when they did the whiteout? They lost to Illinois. Remember that? The Kenny Arnold whiteout?
Oh, my God.
Illinois came in and beat them. That was not fun.
No.
Problem with that game is they needed Kenny and Ronnie in that game. But no, when those guys were healthy and play, man, were they fun to play? Were they fun to watch?
They sure were.
Yeah, they were so much fun.
And man,
to watch.
I watched those games so.
We were all
Jeez.
engrossed. That Final Four team. I remember watching those games with my mom, and my mom loved Ronnie. She loved Kenny too. I mean, she loved those guys.
And I did digitize those games, so
that was smart.
I have them
smart
as
on your account.
digital.
There is part of me though that likes watching the
How
old
did you
grainy.
digitize them?
Paid money to a guy to digitize them. He had the machines.
Oh, okay.
And it's just you going from VHS to digital.
Okay, well, I tried that, and they said it was copyrighted, and I couldn't do it. They couldn't do it for me. So,
Why would it be good on VHS but not on? I don't get that.
they said they couldn't do it.
Interesting.
Well, I had no trouble.
I still think there is something neat though about watching those old grainy black and white, like old high school videos of like Eric Dickerson running in like 19. There's something neat about those things, So, but no, I just think it's neat that Fran is keeping the legacy of Kenny alive by doing this, just little subtle ways like this and what have you. And I don't know, what kind of crowd do you think there's going to be tonight? You think there'll be more than 8?
No.
I don't either. I hope there's more than 5.
I doubt it. I don't know, maybe.
We'll
mean,
see.
I hope so.
I mean, a lot of people just aren't in. I mean, there's still 3 football games.
There's a lot of people that are not in basketball mode yet.
Now, speaking of other sports, Iowa wrestling started 30-7 over Oregon State. Soccer lost in penalty kicks.
I saw that
5-4 to Washington in the tournament, but I'm not sure when the NCAA selection show is, but they still
have a chance.
Still have a very good chance of getting in the tournament. But yeah, no, everything we got. Winter sports are here. This is November. We are in the busiest time of the year.
But it was kind of cool at the game. They had put it on the big screen. They put the soccer game on during one of the breaks. It was kind of cool.
That is neat when they
cool.
That is neat when they do that. And then, of course, I hear there's something. Is there something going on tomorrow?
Women on Wednesday.
No, the election. Yeah, the election.
Yeah, that.
Have you been talking about that at all since prior to the Hawk Fanatic segment?
Well, he wants to shoot reporters.
Well, I mean, so you're saying
one
of
his
all the
closing statements is he wouldn't have a problem.
Reporters.
He wouldn't have a problem with it.
What do you think you'd say about Hawk Fanatic?
Huh?
Kill me? Shoot him?
Yeah, kill him.
Shoot him?
Well, he isn't a sports fan.
No, he doesn't like sports, except for MMA. He goes to
because
MMA.
he thinks that makes him look tough.
Yeah.
God, he's the last guy I would want at a foxhole or a bar fight. He'd find the side door and get out of there.
What happened to his face?
Well, it's all that tanning stuff. He almost looks like Al Jolson now.
That's the guy. Well,
I don't get it.
He does.
He's ridiculous. He looks ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it's just strange.
Hello.
Hey, so the selection show is November 11th.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Don't you think they're going to get in?
I would think so. They've played a good schedule. They've played, they've been one of the best teams I've seen play this year. So
yeah.
So a week from today.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate it.
Great.
So I was trying to figure out what's better with you guys, whether it's the awkward silence or the host sarcasm. I don't know which one's better, but I enjoy both.
All right.
Okay, well, good.
All right.
We want to keep you guessing.
There you go.
All right.
You guys have a great day.
You too.
Thanks.
You could maybe get a sponsor for the awkward, like a hearing aid place or something, to sponsor the awkward silence segment.
I got these damn hearing aid batteries and childproof.
Yeah. You couldn't get into them?
Can't get into them. I had to order the ones with. I can't get into them. Jim's tried to get into them. I had my neighbor try to get into them. Nobody could open them.
I'll try.
So they're adult proof too, is what they are.
You want to bring them in here? I'll try. Sure.
Okay. All right.
They're adult proof. Are we doing this on the air?
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is going to work. You understand? But I'm willing to try to help out for him.
So what do we talk about in the meantime?
We can talk about what we had for dinner last night.
Baked pork chops. That just didn't.
Good.
They weren't though. They
weren't.
Yeah, it didn't work.
We had beef tips from Schwann's over rice.
Isn't Schwann shutting down?
Yeah. Or yellow or whatever they call it.
So is this stuff you'd already previously ordered?
Yes.
Or still? So, but they're done though, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I remember my sister used to get Schwann Man steaks.
Oh, it's good.
And we'd eat them on Friday nights, and they were like little balls of beef, but they were really good.
No, we got a lot of stuff from Schwann. It's great. Their sausages.
So are they just going out of business? Just shutting down?
I don't know.
It says cut here, but you can't. So
It says cut to open, and you can't cut it?
No, you can try.
Well, I don't currently have
Why don't you use a knife? Or a pair.
Steve, do you want to get that for us?
Apparently not.
I don't care. I'll keep ringing.
Well, here you go.
They hung up.
You opened it?
Yes.
You got a battery out?
No, but it's open.
Well, get a battery out.
All right. Do you want to have him put it in your ear too?
Can't do it, can you?
Well, hang on.
Don't worry, that caller hung up, Steve.
That's okay.
You don't care, do you?
I don't care.
You don't care about your callers.
I'm sure this is great radio. I'm working here.
This is the awkward silence part, and I'm helping it. They're back. You getting it, Suitor?
No, not really.
Why not use a lighter and melt it?
No.
Melt the plastic, and as long as you don't
I will
damage
say
it.
I am having great difficulty.
Hello.
I had an eye drop pill bottle I couldn't get into last week, and I needed it badly. Ended up taking a knife to that wrapper on the top, cutting my finger. God, I mean, I was so frustrated. I'm so old, so blind. It was awful.
Well,
yeah, I think this needs to be cut. I think you're right.
How about
do you have scissors?
I had scissors, but you have to cut around each battery.
Melt it. Melt the plastic.
It's ridiculous.
Just those little round like watch batteries, those are impossible to get out.
Well, that's kind of what these are.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, they're bad. Bad. Have a good.
Well, this call.
I'll cut them.
Did that call give you encouragement, Steve?
Oh, yeah, you don't have to cut it. You can cut around it and get one battery out, and then you have to cut around the other battery to get it. Why?
Well, this is not user-friendly, I'll give you that.
Yeah, well, it's a bunch of crap.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm sending them back to Amazon, and I'm getting them. They didn't tell me they were child-proof. I just ordered the same damn batteries I got before.
Yeah, this is a real problem. Wow. Let's see. Possible breakthrough. No.
I still say melt the plastic.
Yeah, with the battery.
All right. Let's see.
Yeah. Now what do you got? What are you doing now?
I'm seeing if I can get between the two layers of plastic. And there we go.
You got it.
And I got it without
cutting your finger.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's doable but ridiculous.
Yeah.
How's that?
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, I know there's a lot of stuff I bought, I think it was sauerkraut.
Yeah.
I couldn't get the jar open. I just could not. I had one of those, it just would not open. I ended up taking it back. Could not get the thing open.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. Doable but ridiculous.
Doable but ridiculous.
Are you have any regrets not going to L.A. this weekend? You wish
No.
you were? You don't?
I would like to go, but it's...
Five days, man. I had you leaving on Wednesday and getting back on Tuesday.
Chat room said use the force.
Well, I used what force I could exert. I think with a nail file I could do better.
Okay, well, you should be able to. Hey, I need a new battery. Go get the battery.
So, are you going to be able to stay up Friday and watch, and then come in here? You're not going to get much sleep if you stay up and watch that whole game.
I'm going to watch the whole game.
11:30, midnight. We're going to be working on like 2-3 hours sleep.
Yeah, like I did last night.
Why were you up so late last night? Just election fever?
Yeah, I'm very nervous.
Election fever.
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
Well, you
come in here. Are we going to have a show on Wednesday?
Well, I mean,
what do you want?
What do I want from you?
What do you want from me?
No, I'm planning on having a show.
Yes,
I just
there'll
don't
be
know
a
what
show.
the mood's going to be like.
Well, neither do I.
What if he wins and you're shut down by then?
What do you mean shut down?
One of his first steps is he shuts KCJ down for not being loyal.
Well, there you go.
What do we do? Do I come in? If that does happen, will you call me so I don't have to drive in?
No.
You'll make me drive in?
Yes.
Yeah.
I come in here and there's feds all over the place. You and Suter are down on the ground just being beat.
Well, that wouldn't be great.
Hunter's hiding in the cornfield with the feral cats. I think that'd be kind of funny. I try to turn around, they catch up to me.
All right, as riveting, I'm sure, as opening this battery package has been for everybody.
That's still been a pretty good show.
It has. We want to thank Donnie Patterson and
Donnie did get emotional a couple times today talking
he
about
did.
stuff that means a lot to him as a coach. You know, the relationships with people and that stuff with Robert Smith. He got pretty emotional.
He did.
Yeah. So that just shows you how much it means and to these coaches and what have you.
It does.
No, it does. It means a lot to them. But everybody, what do we got weather-wise?
We got scattered showers today. We've got showers and thunderstorms for. We should listen.
God, I need some time to rake my leaf.
Listen
Oh,
to
yeah.
weekend?
Can we have, what's her name?
Yeah.
Brittany?
Well, let's see.
KCJJ Weather, brought to you by Plum Supply.
We'll end with Brittany.
Supply kitchens and baths. Your home never looks so beautiful.
I'm meteorologist Brittany Rowe. Dark and dreary today, with mostly cloudy skies and scattered showers and storms. Winds are whipping out of the southwest up to 20 miles per hour, and highs are reaching the upper 60s today. Rain continues through the overnight as lows fall to near 60, and more showers and thunderstorms are expected tomorrow, too. High temperatures will be in the mid-60s, but fall to the mid-50s by the afternoon. That's the forecast on the mighty 1630 KCJJ. Right now, it's 62 degrees.
So it's only getting down to the 60s tonight? Like she just said?
Yeah.
Wow. No, when I went for a walk this morning, I couldn't believe how warm it was.
I'd be able to spend some time on the porch.
Was it pretty warm when you were walking Wapsie?
Well, yeah, I regretted my choice of shirts.
Oh, yeah. I had a fleece on. I sweat my ass off. It was hot. It was humid this morning.
What are you doing?
I'm still messing with this case.
I know, isn't it? It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
And then so the majority of people, not everybody, but the majority of people that have hearing aids and need those batteries are older.
Like my dad.
And they have arthritis. And
yeah, like my dad.
Oh, no, this is a real problem.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how my dad would have handled that, but he wore hearing aids.
Yeah.
He'd also not wear them, and lots of times he would deliberately not wear them because he didn't want to hear anyone. Seriously, I remember my mom because he just would rather not. He'd rather not hear than. There were times when he would rather not hear. My dad. What do you think of that?
I hear it.
You find that funny, don't you, Captain?
Yeah.
And a lot of times I was around him when he had those things off. He always would say, "Take the hint."
Crap.
We're going to end on that one? All right, everybody. Thanks again, Coach Patterson and Mike Henry Tree, for coming on today's show. Really enjoyed it. And everybody have a good day.
All right. Molly Suter is next. HawkFanatic.com. Check it out. It is free.